Okay, welcome back to the I Help Men Dress Better podcast. Hopefully, this week's session will be a little bit clearer. I did move up to Riverside Premium, so really hoping that that makes a difference. It does seem like my lighting is better, everything's a little bit clearer, so let's hope that that all translates on the other end. So this week I am actually going to continue the conversation around fit. So 2 or so weeks ago, I spoke about fit and how it's really important for you to look at fit through a different lens. And I spoke about essentially how when you read the label, like when a brand calls something slim fit or straight fit or wide fit, trim fit, all of those words that brands use to describe, shirts and pants, that you need to kind of use that as more of a baseline. So essentially trying on one shirt and then getting an idea of what's missing, right? Like, is it okay, it's too wide, but this is their slim fit, so maybe I need extra slim from this brand, right? A great example of this is my favorite shirts. All of my button-down shirts are from them, are Charles Turwitt. Absolutely love them. They're great. And the thing that I love about them is they have a number of different fits. And for me, I just love their extra slim fit because my neck is thicker. The wider neck, so they're made for someone who, let's say, has a much thinner neck and a much skinnier body. So when I buy it, when I buy that, because my neck's wider, the fit of the shirt is also wider. So those shirts fit me perfectly. Whereas a slim fit, it fits me too big. It's just too big and boxy in the body. But on someone who has a slenderer neck, they would actually likely fit really nicely in a slim fit because their thinner neck to wider torso is more of what it is. It's almost like slim fit means smaller neck to torso ratio, and extra slim fit means wider neck to torso ratio. So instead of thinking about it in terms of labels like slim and extra slim, you would say, okay, this shirt, the slim fit fits my neck, but it kind of fits my shoulders, but doesn't really fit my body. Is there a fit that has a different neck to torso ratio? And then the answer in this case would be the slim, the extra slim fit. Depending on the brand, sometimes it might be a no, sometimes it might be a yes. But I think that that is just a much more useful way to look at things. And that's the same thing with pants, what's the waist to hips ratio? What's the waist to hips to thigh ratio? And thinking about it in those terms and trying to figure out, instead of worrying about like, well, I want slim fit, you can say, okay, I have small waist, big hips, big thighs. Slim for me might be wide fit, right? Because the slim fit is a wider waist to slimmer legs ratio. And another fit might be a smaller waist with a wider leg ratio, right? Wider fit means wider in the thigh. And so the waist will be the same, right? A slim fit and a wide fit, the waists are the same. But what the difference is in the thigh and in the hips. And if that's what you're looking for, then that is the answer to your problem, right? Okay, so that was what I touched on in that other episode about fit, and something that I was thinking of in regards to fit, because this is what I think about all the time. I mean, this is what I thought about all the time for all the years that I wasn't actually doing this professionally. But now that I am, let me tell you, the amount of just thought and research that I put into this, it really is my passion. And style really changed my life in a big way. My confidence and my self-reliance. And that's really what I'm here to do. That's really what I'm here to share. So it's something that I'm passionate about because of the powerful effect that it's had on my life. And I just want to make sure that I can have as powerful an effect in your life, in my client's life. So yeah, I do. This is what I think about all the time. I was thinking about how And actually, shoot, I wish I could shout him out, but I don't know if I have his name off the top of my head, and I'm not going to go look it up right now. But someone tagged me in a post, and they mentioned the word style illusion. They were talking about jacket length and how it creates an illusion of height. And that reminded me that that was something that I really wanted to talk about more, because a lot of, so I would say that there are two very big portions to style. One of them is the psychological side, and that's the side that I address with ideas like the style archetypes, right? The rugged, refined, rebellious. That's more at the psychological side, right? The communication side, the like what your clothing communicates, that's all on the psychological side, right? Figuring out what are your goals, what are you trying to say, and then finding the language, finding the clothing that speaks the language you want to speak in the dialect and tone that you want to speak it. That's all part of more of like the psychological or like authenticity side of style. The other side of style is aesthetics. And aesthetics is a little bit more the more like the math and science and art of style, right? It's the like making it look good. There are a lot of guys who have a very authentic style, but it's lacking that aesthetic quality. And that's what you really need both for it to be like good style, right? Like, I think we've all come across concepts and ideas in our lives where it's like two people can do the same thing and one of them feels very like tacky and awkward and unapproachable, and one of them feels very like inviting and interesting. It's almost like I have a lot of very like nerdy weird interests, and I just remember feeling like I couldn't necessarily talk about them in a way that other people were interested in, right? It was like almost like, oh yeah, like these weird interests that I have they're not attractive to people, and so I'm never really going to get anyone excited about them. But I have throughout my life, picked up the skills and ways to say things, ways to present ideas. Like, I realized that the issue wasn't the ideas themselves. The issue was, my social skills and speech skills. And that when I worked on those, right, that would be the aesthetic component, right? There's the authentic component of my interests. And then there's the aesthetic component, which is how do I make this accessible to other people? So the aesthetic component of your style is almost like learning the skills to present your hobbies and interests to other people in a way that makes them accessible and people actually want to hear what you have to say, right? Obviously, we're talking visually, so what you visually have to say, that you're presenting who you are in a way that people go, oh, that's really cool and interesting, instead of going like, that is incredibly weird, get away from me, right? So the topic of fit is a lot more involved in the side of aesthetics, right? It's a lot more aesthetically driven. And one of the really interesting things about fit, and also and just everything really in the aesthetics category, is that in a way they're all illusion. And I guess another way to think of it, I don't know if it would be illusion, but if you think of, let's say, a piece of art as illusion, right? When you see a painting, you're being presented with an illusion of a real thing, right? Let's say there's like a painting of a meadow, right? It is not actually a meadow, but it is also not pretending to be a meadow, right? It's not inauthentic. It's not a piece of parchment masquerading as a meadow. Like, you're not going to go frolic in a painting, but at the same time, it is also an illusion. It is something that is not what it is presenting, right? It is a piece of parchment or a piece of, artist's paper that is presenting you with a scene from nature, or, right, like a statue. It is not a person, but if it is carved to appear as a person, there is the illusion, and that's what artists are trying to achieve, is the closest illusion to make you see what they see and what they want to share with you. And style is a lot, the illusion of style works in a very similar way, where you are wearing clothing that creates illusions on your body and changes the way that you and your body appear to other people, but not in a way that is inauthentic. It's more like in a way that is more authentic. I think there's a lot of talk these days about identity and about, our bodies not representing our souls. And I think that there is a lot of truth to that. I think there's a certain fundamental discomfort that we as people are just burdened with. I don't know if the word is burdened, but that's as close as I'm going to get. I'm not going to harp on it. But the idea is that our physical body, the way that we appear to other people, will never fully express the breadth and depth of who we are at like a soul level, right? Who we truly are. We can't actually communicate all of that. We could spend our entire lives trying to explain who we are to one person, right? And we would never ever get to the end of that explanation because every single person is just so, like I said, broad and deep. And most people are not sitting their whole lives to hear everything about you. Most people are catching a glance of you, catching a glance and seeing you. And the way that they interact with you is your persona, which is obviously your personality, what the way you behave in the world, but also your your visual identity, your visual brand, if you will, right? So by definition, there is this limitation, right? The way that we look is a limitation on our ability to express ourselves. And clothing and style, it gives us a little bit of an edge. It gives us a way to go a little bit further than our born physical appearance can, right? Like I can go to the gym and I can groom, but I can't necessarily change certain things about my body, right? I can't change my height or my eye color. I mean, we're talking without surgery and too much work, but as far as just normal, normal input, I can't change my height. I can't change, I can change my weight, but like I don't get to decide my muscle insertions. I don't get to decide, the farthest width of my shoulders, my facial bone structure, how my body decides to, how my body stores fat and where. These are all things that you and we don't have control over. But what we do have control over is presenting what we have in the best way. And like I said, because we are so much more than our appearance, we could enhance ourselves to the max and it wouldn't even touch the breadth and depth of who we are as people. And I think that we forget this and we think that we are required to show our worst sides in order to be authentic. We are required to basically show our bad side so that people know that we're flawed and human. But if you think about it from the other side, we could work our whole lives to present all of our best qualities, and it wouldn't even scratch the surface of our best qualities. You can spend your whole life focusing on your negative qualities, and trust me, I might, but if you really turn around and focus on your positive qualities, you can never actually dress well enough to get close to it. So you can never actually lie or be inauthentic through using illusion, through using style to enhance yourself in, whatever way possible. This is time. I'm going to continue this conversation a little bit more like with examples, hopefully in the future, possibly next week, possibly a little bit further down the line. But I did just want to kind of dive a little bit into the idea of style as illusion, because I do think that it's an important precursor to the idea of, why fit is important. And when we get to things like color also, these are tools that we get to use. And when we understand how they affect our appearance, you can intentionally pick and choose the tools that are going to present you in the way that you want to be received and that you see yourself. This is the end of the episode. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Check me out on LinkedIn. That's where most of my content is. So that's Shlomo H on LinkedIn. Bright pink banner, bright pink, profile picture. You can't miss it. Check out my content. If you have any comments on this episode, obviously you can leave them on Spotify or YouTube, depending on where you're watching this. And please, go come interact with me on LinkedIn. My DMs are always open. I'd love to hear from you. If you're curious about how to work with me, if you want to improve your style and learn to dress better, you can reach out to me via DM on LinkedIn. You can email me at dresslikeyourselfman@gmail.com. You can start, if you're not ready to work with me yet, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, interact with my content, get an idea of what I'm about, how I think. I have a free guide in my featured section there. And of course, tune into the podcast where I'm going to be able to present more complicated ideas in a bit of a longer form. Hopefully not too long. I'm aiming for 15 minutes and trying to keep it under 20. Have a great day. Have a great week. And I will see you in the next episode. Take care.